Hello, Something Guys and Gals. This is Something Guy 912 back with another episode of Odd Architecture. Following up from the last, we'll be covering D1 underscore train station underscore O2, as well as how it does or doesn't tie in with aspects of D1 underscore train station underscore O1. To brief you on what this series is, it's basically me being nitpicky about the architectural design of various video game levels in relation to how realistic their design would be, and while noting gameplay concessions will be made in favor of whether the level design will contort with real life, regardless is something I've been quite fascinated with ever since my own foray into photography has gotten me curious about things like abandoned industrial sites and the like. So, with that all out of the way, transition. Alright, and now jumping into game. We're gonna start where we just left off from the little jump down place. Going out from the supply closet, we'll see the shutter gate, and as we go in, yes, once again, it is a dead end. But if you remember the dead end plaza exit from the last map, it was kind of roughly ended around here, so it could actually be plausible that it would have led into this hallway here, which would tangibly tie in with the shutter gate and kind of justify the wideness and openness of this area. Although it doesn't really explain why this little supply closet thing even exists. And I do have to wonder, because when you walk up here, there's the CP officer that wants you to go pick up that can. If he had seen us come out through that supply closet, I think he'd be a lot more apprehensive. And I guess he just assumes that we just came in through on this shutter gate. Now I'm gonna have to take care of him real quick because he's gonna fucking follow me if I try to go past this sequence. So I'm just gonna get him out of the way right now. So, second thing I noticed is, and this will be an example of odd architecture in relation to an NPC. So this CP officer is guarding a set of double doors. It's like, ooh, you know, what's behind this? I wonder. Well, as it turns out, if we just go around here, it's just the other side of the doors here. So he's not guarding anything, he's just trying to be inconvenient. And this will be very noticeable in other areas of like the canal areas in Half-Life 2. Of just weird NPC placements with no sense of like the architecture they built around them. Going on, we'll go over here, and this is not necessarily a problem. I just thought it was interesting with all these like bank teller screens being boarded up and being unused. One of them of which is being repurposed for the rationing station. What is weird is these little queue lines seem to be just kind of spaced in consistently. Well, not inconsistently, like they don't have them for every single teller line. Like there's these pair right here and this over here. I mean, it could stand to reason that they were probably replaced over here to set this little queue line for the rationing station, but that's probably about it. Before we go out, there is another guard covering this area, but once again, it is a dead end. And I don't even know what this is even supposed to service. Maybe a mess hall for the train station? I have no idea. So with that, we'll go outside into the plaza proper. Now, the plaza itself seems to be pretty fucking cogent for the most part. I'm gonna have to take care of these iBots if they get close, because they're gonna flash the screen and I don't want that to be a part of the video. Now, the streets themselves are kind of tight, but if this is supposed to be Eastern European architecture, it would actually stand to reason that it'd be designed like this. As for the exterior buildings, I can't really tell if the size of the windows or the levels of the windows is like totally consistent with what you would see in real life. I'm just gonna have to take it at the game's word that it is consistent. Get out of here. Okay. That being said, there's this sign, which, you know, is supposed to be Russian, but this sign is literal gibberish. It just means, it like translated, it's HSSG in English. Now, of course, this sign is also notable for being part of a ARG website, back in the day when this game came out. As to the significance of that. What's also weird is, even though this billboard is in Russian, this sign is in English, and in fact, a lot of the other signs, like, dotted around the plaza are in English. Like this poster, this sign, there's a cafe sign over here, Cafe Baltic, that's also in English, so it's a little bit weird. And I remember seeing a mod for the game on Game Banana that actually had Russian localization signs to make it more immersive with the Half-Life world. I mean, not to not to split hairs, because, you know, a lot of the NPCs also have very normal English accents rather than like Polish or Russian accents. And then this area we'll be able to get to much farther along in the campaign of Half-Life 2. Now, of course, we have these little barriers here. They're, you know, dotted around the roadways. Now, again, this is like narrative. This is here for a narrative reason to, you know, keep people, you know, cordoned off and coordinated to the Combine's liking, but also because they don't want you to see that it's basically nothing on the other side. So, and also just to keep the player along to know where they're supposed to go. Going farther in, we have this, like, I guess you would call it like a bridge? Some kind of bridge? I don't know what you would describe it. Again, I don't know if the inconsistency of these windows not being at level with the windows of this area and this area is consistent with other, like, land bridges, as you would call it, or house bridges. This might actually be, like, necessary, so I'm not sure if that's, like, consistent. So going on, we have this APC that's here, and we also get our first shot of the Striders walking around. Now, what is interesting about this APC being here is, with all these barriers around, like, how is this APC supposed to get around? Like, the farthest it could go is along this route, and then all around this, like, plaza, but no farther. Like, there's not enough space for the barriers, not enough space for the APC to move through these barriers. Like, this doorway is way too small. So, yeah, it's just a little bit humorous to think about. And then we go into this section where you're essentially being taught how to crouch jump and to interact with ladders, but this area is completely gamey because there is no reason for this fence to be here. Like, it's not guarding anything. It's just here to just be here for the sake of gameplay, to do this and jump down like that. And then over here we have the, you know, the police routing out more, you know, civilians and whatnot. And as for the rest of this map, for the rest of this level, it's pretty consistent. I couldn't really find anything here that was particularly odd or noticeably out of place. Again, with the level of these windows, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's consistent. Like, the only way we're really going to be able to know is when we get inside, which will be left said for when we get into the apartment section in the third map. And with that, I think that's does it for D1 _ train station 02. And that was that for the second map of Point Insertion. Tune in when I cover the third map, which will largely be the apartment sections, leading into our brief chase sequence.